The rain was relentless that evening in Manchester, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I'm Alaric, 46, an IT specialist, and until recently I thought I had a pretty decent life. Married to Genevieve for 18 years, two wonderful kids, a comfortable home in the suburbs, the whole package. But beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life, a crack had formed, widening with each passing day, and I was too blind to see it. It started subtly. Genevieve, a vibrant and outgoing woman, started becoming distant. Late nights at the office, business trips that seemed to pop up out of nowhere, and a general air of preoccupation that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I chalked it up to stress at work. She was a marketing manager at a large firm and deadlines were always looming. But deep down, a nagging feeling persisted, a sense that something was amiss. One evening, I decided to surprise Genevieve at her office with dinner. I knew she was working late on a big campaign, and I thought it would be a nice gesture. I picked up her favorite Thai food from a local place and drove downtown, navigating the city's labyrinthine streets. As I approached her office building, I saw her car parked outside. Good, she's still here, I thought. I parked and walked inside, telling the security guard I was there to see my wife. When I reached her floor, the lights were dimmed, and the only sound was the hum of the air conditioning. I walked towards her office, the aroma of Thai food filling the air. As I neared the door, I heard voices. Genevieve's voice and another, a man's. I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but there was a familiarity in the man's tone that sent a shiver down my spine. Driven by a sudden, overwhelming urge, I pushed the door open. The scene that unfolded before me shattered my world. Genevieve was sitting on her desk, locked in a passionate embrace with a man I recognized instantly, Kester, her colleague, a slick, arrogant guy who had always made me feel uneasy. They sprang apart, their faces flushed with guilt and surprise. The Thai food slipped from my grasp, splattering onto the floor, the fragrant noodles and vegetables now a grotesque metaphor for my ruined life. Alaric, what are you doing here? Genevieve stammered, her eyes wide with panic. What am I doing here? What are you doing here, Genevieve? I retorted, my voice trembling with rage. I came to bring you dinner, but it seems you've already had your fill. Kester stepped forward, his face a mask of false concern. Alaric, it's not what it looks like. Oh, really? Because it looks like my wife is cheating on me with you, Kester. Unless I am missing something here, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Genevieve started to cry, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before my eyes. Alaric, please let me explain. Explain what, Genevieve? How you've been lying to me for months, how you've been sneaking around behind my back, how you've been betraying my trust. I yelled, my voice echoing through the empty office. I didn't wait for an answer. I turned and walked out, leaving them standing there, their guilt hanging heavy in the air. I stumbled out of the building, the rain washing over me, but it couldn't cleanse the filth I felt inside. I drove home in a daze, the image of Genevieve and Kester seared into my mind. The next few days were a blur. Genevieve came home, begging for forgiveness, claiming it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. She blamed Kester, saying he had pursued her relentlessly, that she couldn't resist his advances. But I didn't believe her. I saw the look on her face, the passion in her eyes. It wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. I confronted Kester at his home. It was evening when I knocked on his door, my hands clenched into fists. He opened the door, a smirk on his face. Well, Alaric, what brings you here?" he asked, his voice dripping with arrogance. I didn't say a word. I punched him square in the face, sending him sprawling backwards into his apartment. He scrambled to his feet, his nose bleeding, his eyes filled with fury. A brawl ensued, fueled by rage and betrayal. I unleashed all my pent-up anger, landing blow after blow. I didn't care about the consequences. I just wanted to inflict as much pain as possible. Eventually, I stopped, panting and bruised, Kester lying on the floor, groaning in pain. "Stay away from my wife," I said, my voice hoarse. "If I ever see you near her again, I'll kill you." I walked away, leaving him there, a broken mess. But even as I exacted my revenge, I knew it wouldn't bring back what I had lost. The trust was gone, the love was tainted, and the marriage was irrevocably broken. I moved out of our house, finding a small apartment in the city. The kids were devastated, caught in the crossfire of their parents' shattered relationship. I tried to be there for them, but it was difficult, juggling work, a new living situation, and the emotional turmoil of a divorce. Genevieve fought the divorce, claiming she still loved me, that she wanted to make our marriage work. But I was adamant. I couldn't forgive her betrayal, couldn't forget the image of her in Kester's arms. The divorce was finalized a few months later, a painful and expensive process that left me emotionally and financially drained. I tried to move on, to rebuild my life. I focused on my work, spending long hours at the office, trying to distract myself from the pain. I started exercising, going to the gym regularly, pushing myself to my physical limits. I even tried dating, but it felt hollow, superficial. I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone, to open myself up to the possibility of being hurt again. One day, a package arrived at my apartment. It was a plain, unmarked box with no return address. Curious, I opened it. Inside, I found a USB drive. I plugged it into my computer and a video file popped up. I clicked on it and the video started playing. It was a recording of Genevieve and Kester, taken from a hidden camera. The video showed them together, not just in the office, but in various locations, restaurants, hotels, even my own house when I was away on business. The video also revealed the true nature of their relationship. It wasn't a moment of weakness, as Genevieve had claimed. It was a long-term affair, a calculated and deliberate betrayal. But that wasn't the worst part. As I continued watching, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Genevieve and Kester were talking, plotting, scheming. They were discussing my company, my finances, my assets. They were planning to take everything from me, to leave me penniless and broken. "Once we get rid of Alaric, we can have it all," Genevieve said in the video, her voice cold and calculating. "His company, his house, his money. We'll be set for life." Kester nodded, his eyes gleaming with greed. "And no one will ever suspect a thing. We'll be the perfect couple, living the high life." I was stunned, speechless. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, what I was hearing. Genevieve, the woman I had loved and trusted for so many years, was a cold-blooded manipulator, willing to destroy me for her own selfish gain. I felt a surge of anger, hotter and more intense than anything I had ever experienced before. I had to do something, had to make them pay for what they had done. But I couldn't act rashly, couldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. I needed a plan, a way to expose their treachery and reclaim what was rightfully mine. I spent the next few weeks meticulously gathering evidence, documenting their scheme and building a case against them. I hired a lawyer, a sharp and ruthless woman who specialized in corporate fraud. Together, we devised a strategy to expose Genevieve and Kester and bring them to justice. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Genevieve and Kester, emboldened by their success, made a bold move. They attempted to seize control of my company, using forged documents and fabricated evidence. But I was ready for them. At a board meeting, I presented my evidence, exposing their scheme to the entire board of directors. I played the video, showing them the truth about Genevieve and Kester's betrayal. The room was silent, everyone staring at the screen in disbelief. Genevieve and Kester tried to deny it, to claim it was all a misunderstanding, but it was too late. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. The board voted to remove them from their positions and to launch a full investigation into their activities. The police were called, and Genevieve and Kester were arrested, charged with fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. Their carefully constructed world came crashing down around them, their dreams of wealth and power dissolving into dust. The trial was a media circus, with reporters and cameras swarming the courthouse. The details of Genevieve and Kester's affair and their scheme to defraud me were splashed across the headlines. They were vilified in the press, their reputations ruined. In the end, they were found guilty on all counts. Genevieve was sentenced to 5 years in prison, Kester to 7. They had lost everything: their freedom, their careers, their reputations, and each other. As I sat in the courtroom, listening to the judge pronounce their sentences, I felt a sense of satisfaction, but also a deep sadness. I had achieved my revenge, but it came at a great cost. My marriage was over, my family was fractured, and my life was forever changed. But I also knew that I had done the right thing. I had stood up for myself, had fought for what was rightfully mine, and had exposed the truth. I had emerged from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more resilient than ever before. I started rebuilding my life, focusing on my work, my children, and my own well-being. I learned to trust again, to love again, to open myself up to the possibility of happiness. It wasn't easy, but I persevered, determined to create a better future for myself and my family. Years later, I received a letter from Genevieve. She was still in prison, remorseful and regretful. She apologized for her betrayal, for the pain she had caused me and our children. She admitted that she had been blinded by greed and ambition, that she had made a terrible mistake. I didn't reply to her letter. I had forgiven her, but I couldn't forget. I had moved on with my life and I couldn't go back. I had learned a valuable lesson about trust, betrayal, and the importance of staying true to oneself. My life is not perfect, but it is mine. I have found happiness again in my work, my children, and my own inner peace. I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, for the challenges I have overcome, and for the strength I have found within myself. And I know that no matter what the future holds, I will always be able to face it with courage and resilience.